let's get to the good part.
Okay.
Well, that's all good. So you're winding up and be like, so then what happens like next? Where does the whole Joel pivot?
And then they all lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I went through some, I will say this too. I went through some really dark times during the darkest days of my life were during my ex-gay therapy times because I was processing so much. I was never suicidal, but I wanted to die. I wanted somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
And so after like coming out to myself, then it was kind of like when I remember saying I'm going to live as a gay man. I don't even know what that means because I didn't. I'm like, what on earth does this mean?
Yeah.
So I just started moving forward. And I was thinking about this on the way over here, Clinton, as I always talk about living authentically. And sometimes I think that can become just a buzzword. There's no like living authentically is, in my mind, is with each move, each step, each decision, trying to make decisions that are most true to who you are. And not letting the shame or the fear control you. Shame should never control us. Fear is a good thing. It informs us, but it shouldn't control us. And so really from there on out, it was just little baby steps of going, okay, well, what I found that was interesting when I talked earlier about, I'm going to come a full circle here about like all the cruising and stuff. Once I came out and I gave myself permission to be me as a gay man, even like whatever that meant.
I like that. Gave myself permission. Yeah.
I went through a bit of that. I'm free. I can do whatever I want, and kind of thing. So I had a little fun.
Little fun.
But what I really found happening is all of that drive that I had, that was like the cruising drive and all this stuff, it all began to melt away and balance out because it was no longer the forbidden. It was no longer, I suddenly realized I can make choices now for me. And so
this is free will.
Yeah, exactly. And I just started making baby steps, making choices. Coming back to the whole color thing, it was funny you asked about orange. I found something really interesting happened when I started really coming out and embracing.
Well, hold on, because I wanted to, because earlier I was asking.
Yeah, you didn't ask about that.
I was asking you earlier because I was just like, because you grew up in Baptist, Free Will Baptist, and I was like, did your church have the pews have the upholstery of that orangey rusty? You're like, I knew of some that was not ours. So go ahead, yeah.
But after I came out, like I craved the color orange. Because it was so different from anything else that I had. Like I went through this period of time where like I bought orange clothes, I bought orange stuff. Like I just wanted orange. I don't know why, but I think because it was just so contrary to anything I had ever embraced, I'd always had this very conservative thing, And then of course I started like buying different clothes and just allowing myself to express myself.
Yeah.
And
the
it was
orange
slow.
phase of Joel.
Yeah, I got rid of that, trust me. But I did go through an orange phase, yes.
You got to share some pictures.
I don't know what it was about orange, but I don't know. I craved it. I really did. I wanted orange in my life.
So you're having your fun. You're finding your groove in the gay community, and then I want to tell a little bit more about that. But I want to get to you meeting your fabulous husband.
Well, I started dating, I guess. Once I was like, I'm out, and I started going to the gay club in South Bend. Truman's was the name of it at the time. And,
Was that the only gay club? And
it was the only gay nightclub. There were some gay bars, but, like a lot of cities, and it had a number of them. And then they kind of dwindled. Some of them went. And I guess there's a few more that have come back since then. But, excuse me. And, but I started going to Truman's and, I dated a couple of guys for a brief period of time. And, but I was a single dad. I ended up having all of the care of my children. It didn't start out that way, but it slowly eased into that. So I was raising 3 kids. I was trying to eke out a living. I had a big wake up call when I got out of ministry. When I was in ministry, I thought, oh, I have done all of these incredible things, because I had done some pretty impressive things. I started a church from scratch, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I had directed I'd written curriculums, I'd taught classes, you know, so on and so forth. In my mind, I was well qualified.
Absolutely.
And boy, was that a wake up call. When I got out trying to look for actual jobs, people were just like, oh, what do we do with you?
Right. Right.
And
that's sad that is stigmatized, because when somebody works in talent acquisition, I would see people who would go to a Bible college or something, and I would see other recruiters like, they're not. I was like, no, you don't understand. Working in the church takes strategy. You're navigating difficult conversations all the time. Bring them in for an interview.
Yeah. Oh, church people are the worst.
And it's sad that is stigmatized. Yeah.
But so as I was coming out, kind of getting out, I realized I don't think, like, I didn't have time to juggle it all. I was just trying to eke out a living and raise my kids. And so I got a job in a coffee shop, managing a coffee shop, which is the first place I worked where I was out, which was really nice. And that was cool. It was a very warm, accepting place.
I just loved you.
I had just told myself, all right, Joel, just raise the kids. When they're out of high school, you can move to Chicago and you'll find somebody there. Yeah. I had just decided. I'd seen it all in South Bend. I went, I knew the lay of the land. Mm-hmm. And then one day, shortly after I'd been there for a while, but who is now my husband walked in as a customer, and that's how we met.
Wow.
And so he ordered, and I saw him walk in, and I was like, who is this? I've never seen this man before. I thought I'd seen everybody in there.
Cutie patootie.
Yeah, I was like, so, I laid it on a little thick there, and let him know that I was interested. And, but he was at the tail end of a relationship at that time. And so,
I like that, the tail end of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
End of a dying relationship, And, but he kept coming in, and, so eventually, all I ever knew was his name was David, and that he drank a hot chocolate with no whipped cream. He didn't drink coffee. And so he would come in. And so then I was quitting there and moving on to the next little job, which it felt like I was taking these like baby steps from job to job to job, trying to work my way up to something. So I went from the coffee shop to Red Lobster, to serving at Red Lobster, because I could make more money at serving tables at Red Lobster than at the coffee shop. So I went there. But it was like my last 2 weeks of work there. And I told my coworker, Jenny, and we're still friends. And I said, Jenny, that guy David that comes in and orders hot chocolate? I'm like, if he comes in, give him my number and tell him to call me. Because I was like, I don't know anything about him. I don't know how to contact him. I'm afraid I'll never see him again. And I'd like to meet him. Yeah. And so he did come in while I was not there. And she did everything except give him my number. She told him when I would be working and so on and so forth. So he came in one of my last days of work, and it was like really busy. And coffee shop management is like really busy. So I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. And I was like, I'm quitting. And I just thought we should go get drinks sometime. And he's like, okay. And he gave me his card, and he wrote a little. I found out through this card that he also teaches Latin dance. And so I was like,
oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
And he wrote on the back of the card, thanks for all the hot chocolates, and put his phone number on there. And I still have that card somewhere. And and then we went out shortly thereafter for sushi, and we've been together 15 years now.
That's amazing.